Okay, so I just downloaded the Copilot app to my phone, and I'm going to test it out to see about a little bit of language practice. Can you help me practice my English?
オブコース。I1 Juin YOFDB happy to help you practice your English. Let's start with a simple exercise. I'll provide a sentence in English, and you can try to rewrite it in your own words. Here's the sentence. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Now, try to create a new sentence that has the same meaning. Remember, practice makes perfect.
I have so many questions. So I am in Japan right now. I'm not sure if that's going to affect some sort of setting. My phone is all set to English, so that really shouldn't be an issue. But for whatever reason, it spoke to me, of course, as you could hear, with a very strong Japanese accent, but all in English except for that one little glitch at the beginning. I'm not sure if this is problematic. I guess then we have to have conversations around what accent it should be talking to me in and how it's making these decisions and what all that means. So, where do we go from here? So I'm going to go in and play with the settings, but it's an interesting thing to see what's going on here as we're looking at kind of defaults, expectations, and how students might interact with this and recognize what's going on with the language as they're practicing or trying to figure out how to use a tool like this. Okay, so there was a lot to think about with all of that, but after a little bit of time, I went back in, I went into the settings, and I wanted to see what was going on with this. And so inside of the settings in the region and language, there's a part called speech language, and that was set to Japanese. And so I wanted to test it out and see if the same kind of stereotypical accents would gonna come up in another language. So let's take a look at what happened. So here in the settings, you can go into the speech and language part, and I switched it to Italian, and then I brought it back up to see what happens. I'd like to practice English. Can you help me?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to help you practice English. Whether you want to work on grammar, vocabulary, writing, or conversation, just let me know what you'd like to focus on, onorevole.
Okay, so we do hear a little bit of that kind of Italian accent. I wanted to give it a couple more shots just to see what happens. I want to fix my pronunciation.
Improving pronunciation is a great goal. Improving pronunciation is a great goal. Here are a few tips that might help. Listen and repeat. Listen to native speakers through movies, songs, or podcasts, and try to imitate their pronunciation.
And it kind of goes on from there. So you can hear that there are Italian language pronunciation issues that come across in English. So the rolling R's, the dropped H, for example, other things, and sometimes even the accent on the diphthongs, for example. So there are things inside of here that are being chosen by default, but this one was a little bit interesting too, because you started to hear a real mix of like blending from this Italian accent back into maybe a little bit of a British accent, or some of those like North Carolina English, maybe. I don't know, it was a little bit tricky to hear, but there are definitely it's hard to understand exactly how it's going on, but whatever language that you choose for that output, it does seem to be recognizing that. Now, I chose Italian this time because it uses a Roman script, whereas Japanese, it uses kana, but it does have a Romaji as well. So this is something to keep playing with. There are some interesting potentials here for pronunciation activities to look at, but I think that, this is also going to create a lot of confusion and questions for people as well. And so we're going to have to be careful moving forward. To me, I was a little bit shocked, but then I showed it to my wife, who's Japanese, and she laughed and thought it was like the funniest thing and shared it with all of her friends. And so like here we are problematizing some of these things where like, maybe the people who are affected go, who cares? That's funny. So just amusing, interesting, weird at the same time. I still don't feel totally comfortable with it, but it is something, some of the type of things that we're going to see as we move forward with these AI technologies and how things cross and interact with each other. Take a look, play with it, see what you come up with.